Hey all my people, how you doing? I hope you're having a fantastic damn day. Welcome back to the channel, and we'll be doing a bit of a recap of Season 1 of the West Brom career mode. I'm just going to be sitting through here, going through some of the highlights, some of the situations we found ourselves in, and immediately coming in off the bat, we found ourselves in 11th place. Not really great. 11 games played as well. So we needed to make some changes to the side. West Brom, they were playing a back five system. I didn't really like that. I didn't think it got the best out of the players going forward. So I decided, you know what, let's freshen things up a bit more. Let's do some scouting, try and find some players that will fit those positions. And we went with a 4-2-3-1. And I think that's helped us quite a lot throughout the course of the season. And I mean, our starting budget, of course, we didn't really spend anything. It was around 12 million or so. And yeah, so we started scouting some players, of course, signing the likes of Connor Bradley. I think he, in the second half of the season, proved to be instrumental for our team's success going forward. But yeah, at this moment in time, we had to make do with the team that the previous manager had signed and had played. And I don't think it was the worst start. I mean, Preston North End, an obvious rival of mine, they were pretty good. But we found a way to just score so many goals, and it was fantastic. I mean, running out, what was it, like 6-1 winners on the day, opening up your account as a manager, you just feel proud that the team was working so efficiently and effectively. The likes of Josh Madger, who is going to definitely be a massive player for us going forward this season. I think he is going to be a massive player for next season as well. But we will get to that fairly soon. But I was very impressed off the bat with our first few games. I think, you know, the team showed a lot of heart, something that they hadn't really done for the previous manager, which essentially got him sacked. So I was quite happy with that. And I mean, against Cardiff, they provided us quite a tough game, to be fair. And I mean, the likes of Colin Grant scoring against us, a man on loan from the Baggies, was quite tough to take. But we ended up getting a 2-2 draw, which was quite nice. And like I say, our first few games were very instrumental in us trying to lay the foundations down for a successful season going forward. And I mean, we were always within the playoff spots, you could say, the playoff situation. And that's more or less what the target was. That's why the board hired me. They said, we need you in the playoffs. We need you to provide this fan base with a bit more stability and a bit more winning mentality, which is what we did. I mean, from set pieces, we were incredible. The likes of Jokaslu, I didn't even know he existed as a player up until this career mode, but he was instrumental for our success going forward. I mean, the same with Brandon Thomas Asante for the first quarter of the season that I had with this team. He was amazing off the bench, but obviously things didn't really work out in the end, so that does suck ever so slightly. But again, I think as a team we did grow quite a lot, and especially after that January window, obviously bringing in some of the signings that I thought fitted our system a bit more, it did help. And after our first few games, we found ourselves in 6th place in the playoff situation, just behind the likes of Leicester, Millwall, and of course Leeds United. So we had grown a bit more of momentum, but in the second episode, we kind of lost that. And that's when I discovered the true nature of this team, the ability for them to have their good moments and their bad moments. And it's always necessary to try and grow as a team like that. So you learn my strengths and my weaknesses, and I do the same for you. So that's more or less what we did. And I mean, I did more or less signify that we were going to be signing a new goalkeeper going forward. I think the likes of Palmer, I hadn't seen the mistakes at this moment in the season just yet, but those mistakes would definitely come out in that second episode, as well as the third, where we would see that he is just not good enough in order for us to get a promotion to the Premier League. And even if we did, we would still naturally have to replace him for that season, if in the Premier League, of course. So obviously it's episode number 2 right here, right now. And we did get a fantastic draw against the likes of Bristol City, and they did do quite well. Oh, my bad. We didn't actually draw. We ended up losing with Wells. Yes, I remember now. We ended up losing 3-2. And then, of course, the game against Blackburn, that really did show me Palmer's true colours and his ability to not be able to play out from the back. I mean, he smashed the ball into the Blackburn striker, and that just infuriated me so much. So it was around here where I started questioning whether he was the right man for the job. And like I say, I did highlight for the likes of Freddie Woodman. I did say, you know, he could be the guy going forward. It goes without saying, you know, it does go without saying. But episode 2 was really hard for me personally, because it was like, the team is not playing this badly. The team is not this bad. But the reality is we weren't picking up the results. And more or less the fans were like, well, what is this guy doing? The first few games we were pretty good. And then these next few games were pretty bad. So like I say, this episode was more or less about me learning the culture of this team and trying to get their mentality to shift and turn. And I must say the redemption arc against Birmingham, against Wayne Rooney's side, of course, it was quite big. It was massive for us going forward, because we were able to take on all that pressure that the fans were piling on us, take on everything, and then win that game. And I thought that was quite a momentum shifter for us. And moving on to the third episode, of course, we got suggestions from you guys of players who we should sign, and we will be signing them in this summer window coming up for the start of season number 2. So don't you worry. As well as you guys did suggest us sending scouts to the likes of Northern Ireland as well as England. So we did get quite a few players, and you will see that I think it may have been episode 4 or 5. We do have 1 or 2 good youth prospects that do come out of the academy from that initial scouting program. Yeah, moving on to Leeds though, you'll find out flipping soon enough that these are a massive thorn in the West Brom career mode side at the moment, because we do play them quite a lot this season. And they were 3-0 up inside 30 minutes. I was like, wow, this team is crazy bad. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do it. But the reality is that we somehow found a way to pull ourselves back into the game, but we only ended up scoring 2 goals compared to their 3. So we ended up losing 3-2. It was a tough, heartbreaking loss, yes. But nonetheless, we were still able to take some momentum from that and progress. I also decided, it was around the December period where I decided, you know what, we need to extend some of these players' contracts, because coming into the club, the previous manager, he kind of neglected that. So I decided, you know what, it's probably best to try and extend some of these players, the likes of Caleb Taylor, Capri, all essential to this system and this team going forward, and they will be a massive part in our upcoming season as well. So extending them was essential, and that was just before the massive game against Southampton, where those first 35 or so minutes, in fact, the first half was pretty damn impressive, if you ask me. And the second half came out, we were 1-1 at the time, and yeah, Southampton turned on the Jets, turned on their talent. Of course, recently relegated Premier League side. They still have quite a bit of talent in that side, and they ended up beating us 4-2. And that was truly, that was the game that sent it over the edge for me, that Palmer is not a quality goalkeeper where I can afford for him to be making these kind of errors, these kinds of mistakes. He needs to be able to get his hands to the ball. And more times than not, he wasn't. And we were conceding some reckless, weird goals. And we were against the game against Cardiff. I mean, playing up against Carlin Grant again, they somehow always seem to play Carlin Grant against us. It was very infuriating, to say the very least. But nonetheless, we were able to find ourselves back in it at 2-2, a massive Yokosulu header. And then again, a few minutes later, literally a few moments later, we got a corner, and Yokosulu put the ball back in the back of the net yet again. So he was proving to me that he can be a midfield leader from that deeper role. I mean, I think he finished the season off with like 18 or 19 goals or something like that, which was fantastic. And then again, Colin Grant flipping it over, looking like prime Dele Alli against Crystal Palace. I don't know if you guys might know or remember, but yeah, that was a fantastic goal. That's one of the best goals I've ever seen the AI score against me. So yeah, and at this moment in time, we were just in the January window, and I was just showing you guys some of the sales that we had made. Of course, Nathaniel Chalobah ended up falling out with me somehow, somewhere. I was giving him game time, but he ended up just signing a pre-contract with PSV, and then something weird happened where he just ended up leaving the club. He didn't play out the remaining 6 months of his contract or anything like that. So yeah, it is what it is. But we did sell quite a few players, the likes of Furlong. He left and went to Leicester. Leicester did very well with signing him. Of course, the likes of Eric Peters as well, also leaving. Ajay as well, going to the likes of Norwich City. But it was time to make our signings. It was time to make my imprint on this team going forward. And that started off from the back with the likes of Freddie Woodman coming in. And might I say, he has probably been the best signing of the bunch. We ended up obviously signing Connor Bradley off the bat, as well as Lloyd Kelly and Josh Cullen from Burnley. So great additions to the team, 4 fantastic additions. I know I didn't sign the players that you guys suggested, but I will be doing that, like I say, in the beginning of this next window. Of course, the likes of Fauna, he had recently just signed for Derby, and then Batterina, he was too expensive. I didn't have that much money, so it was a bit of a shaky start on the transfer window. But in terms of our first game with the new players on the side, obviously we did rotate and bring them off the bench. The only real player that did start that was the likes of Woodman. I had to have him in the team off the bat. And he did a very good job, to say the very least. I was very impressed with him. We ended up drawing that game 2-2 after being 2-0 down. We showed mentality. The new players got their run out. They were fairly decent, to say the least, but of course, it's their first game. What provided us a massive challenge was going up against a Premier League super team like Newcastle United, a very good side under the likes of Eddie Howe, and away from home at St. James's Park, we were able to, in transition, turn the ball over and then fire it into the back of the net. Of course, calling back the likes of Carlin Grant. Of course, I wasn't going to let him carry on persisting with Cardiff City, getting them good results. I needed him in my team. I needed a backup striker as well. And he did a very good job. He found the back of the net. He was clinical. But the man of the match was actually Freddie Woodman. He saved quite a lot of shots. I mean, I think in total it was 11 shots and he saved 8 of them. And quite a lot of them were quite hectic shots on target. So he was fantastic. He was proving to me that, you know, he was showing faith in my decision to go for him from Preston North End. And of course, we did make that swap with Preston where I think Griffiths went the other way. And we obviously got their main first choice goalkeeper. Also from St. James's Park, of course, a former Newcastle United player. And then a few results here and there, but the results and the way we were playing, the style of football was improving. I could feel the fans were on our side. The team was building momentum. We were racking up wins now and not just silly defeats here and there or making mistakes. The team was clinical. The team was structured. It knew what it was doing. And I was so impressed with it. I mean, against Rotherham, we ended up winning, what was it, like 7-0? So we were impressive as anything. Moving on to Preston North End, of course, the goalkeeper, Freddie Woodman, playing against his former side, he was fantastic. But even though we were like racking up all these victories, the other teams around us were also doing the same. I mean, Leicester City found themselves in first place. Southampton just in behind them. So we were more or less always chasing the pack this season. Of course, the other teams had a 11-game head start on us. So it was always going to be very tough to try and gain that automatic promotion spot. But it was in sight. We were still racking up the points, still racking up the victories and making sure that we were doing our things. And as you can see right here, Josh Cullen with his first goal for the club. Of course, he had hit the post like so many times. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How are we going to get this man to get his first goal? And eventually he was able to do so. And it was around this stage where I decided, you know what, it's probably best to try and get Carlin Grant into the team. So that's when I made my first shift of the team going forward. Of course, dropping the likes of Johnny Swift and so on and bringing Carlin Grant onto that left-hand side. And our first game, playing with the system against Bristol City, massive injury to Cullen. I think he tore his ACL, so he was out for 7 months. That means rest of the season, we don't have our most expensive signing in the midfield, a key position for us going forward. And that did suck because it does affect us going forward. I mean, the consistency that we had been building, it just seemed like we were so deflated from that. I mean, we do end up still winning this game against Bristol City, but things just started going from bad to worse. I mean, that massive injury, and then Brandon Thomas Asante came out and he kind of threw me under the bus. He didn't appreciate the tactics or anything like that. So essentially, if there's no support for your manager, there's insubordination. So I had to drop him from the team. He would never play again for West Brom, and it sucks because I did like him. He came off the bench quite a few times, scored quite a few goals. I mean, the game I think of the most is the game where he scored the hat-trick for me. He was incredible in that game, and I was very excited to have him in the team. But the minute you go back on your manager's word, there's problems, and I can't have that in the team. The boys know that. They need to show a bit more support for each other as well as for the management side. So we had to progress on our season without our key signing in January, as well as one of our strikers. So that meant that we had to somewhat have a makeshift system with Carlin Grant playing as a winger and as a striker in certain moments. But a lovely moment here nonetheless, over the halfway line goal from our captain Jed Wallace, who had come on recently as a sub in this moment in time. But yeah, he started putting in some good performances as well in that number 10 position, and as well as John Swift coming off the bench, having his little moment here and there to be able to do his thing. And then, of course, after beating Newcastle, we ended up drawing the likes of Manchester City away, of course, at the Etihad, a tough place to go. Treble winners from last season, they were always going to be tough. But we had quite a few good opportunities here to win this game. Of course, none other than falling to Carlin Grant on that right-hand side. Couldn't get it to go. Probably should have taken a touch, controlled it a bit more, and then fired the shot off. But we got the corner from that, and that resulted in a fantastic bullet Capri header at the Etihad. I was absolutely shell-shocked. I was like, I don't expect us to win, but I'm expecting us to give our best account of ourselves. And Capri, the backline, everybody stepped up. Of course, Woodman made save after save, tested quite a lot. And we were able to hang on there and win. And what a ride it was in the FA Cup, might I say. So again, we had been building momentum. Of course, it would stagnate every now and then, but we would get a massive win, like against Newcastle or against Man City, and just continue to grow as a team. And we did get an offer here from Ajax for Brandon Thomas Asante. I decided to accept it outright. Of course, Leicester came in with an initial offer, and we wanted a bit more, and then obviously the deal fell apart. So I didn't really want to mess around too much with it. I kind of just wanted him out the team going forward. And to start season 2, he will not be in the side. So it goes without saying it did help quite a bit. But again, the momentum of this side had kind of stagnated a bit with the likes of this loss here to Hull City, who somehow, some way, were not a very good side. They finished, I think, initially they finished like 19th in the standings. And I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive, because they were really good against us. So I guess it was just a bad day at the office for us. But at least the likes of Conor Bradley got his first goal for the club. And then, of course, the next round of the FA Cup came around really soon. We ended up drawing Manchester United. Like those odds of having Newcastle, City, and United in a row is kind of mad. And the quality did show in the end. I mean, we ended up losing 4-2 to them. They scored some cracking goals, and they showed the quality and the difference between the West Bromwich Albion that sits 5th in the Championship, and of course the side that sits 1st in the Premier League, Manchester United. So it was a hard pill to swallow, but none harder than this right here. I mean, 2-0 up against Leeds, a fantastic rivalry brewing between the two teams. They came back with 2 fantastic goals of their own, and then in the dying embers of this game, Sarmiento, who had recently just come on the field, scored the winner to get me the massive 3 points. And like I say, we were building some nice momentum here. Like almost that automatic promotion spot was in reach. I could see it. It was literally 1 or 2 wins away, and we were very, very good. I mean, this is where John Swift more or less came alive for me, and he kind of made me have this selection dilemma, you could say, with his ability to come into the side, get those assists, get those other players involved in the team. So I had to more or less try and, shift some things around and try and get him in the side a bit more. So yeah, I was very impressed with him, but also, again, Freddie Woodman was fantastic. He was racking up clean sheets left, right, and centre. And as you can see right here, we're only 9 points away from that automatic promotion spot. So it makes the most sense that, we're trying to push, we're trying to progress, we're trying to obviously not be in the playoffs. That's not what you want. You don't want to have your team's destiny in another team's hands, potentially. So we were pushing on, and a massive win here at Carrow Road would have gone a long way, but it wasn't to be. They were playing a 4-4-2, very aggressive with their press. Our backline somehow could handle Manchester City, could handle the likes of Newcastle United, but we could not handle Norwich City, and their press was insane. They would lose the ball, then win it back immediately, and that's more or less what led to that. I mean, they lost the ball, they got tackled, other striker collects the ball and smashes it home for a 1-0 lead. And ultimately, they would run out 3-2 or 3-1 winners, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it wasn't a pretty performance from us, and I was quite mad to say the very least, because a lot of the big games in this episode right here, we dropped those points. We should have won those games. We should have shown that we were the better side, but we ended up not. And that's what made me, just so negative and angry, because we had the ability to do it. We just didn't have the execution to, follow through with it. But a goal of the season, possibly here from Yokoslu, just like wrapping it in from distance. He was fantastic with that strike. And like I say, it was a much needed victory against Preston North End. We did absolutely bully them. I can't deny that. But after the episode, we had 85 points, and we were still 9 points behind the likes of Norwich. But it was at this moment where I was like, you know what, if we had beaten Norwich, we would have 3 more points, and we could be closer to the top. And then, of course, we had that massive game against Southampton coming up right here. So, like I say, with this episode, I was mad because a lot of the big games where it wasn't a one-sided affair, we ended up not showing our character. We got bullied. We were winning for majority of the Southampton game, ended up giving away a corner. They scored off of it. Then we gave away a very soft penalty. They scored that, and of course, in the dying moments of the game, we were still chasing it. We're still in the game. Maybe we can get a draw. Of course, Shea Adams pops up with a massive killer and basically eliminates us from the automatic playoff promotion. And then obviously the final episode, a massive episode for this career mode going forward. We start off against Leicester City. Fantastic goal from Madge. I think he scored 2 in that game, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, our final game of the season against Millwall, another promotion playoff contender with us. We did lay down the gauntlet. We threw a lot of men forward. We scored quite a few goals. Of course, they did come back in it, but it wasn't to be. As Colin Grant came off the bench, was electrifying. I think in his first 4 touches, he scored 2 goals. So he was the difference maker on that day. And it did set us up quite nicely for the promotion playoffs, where we would be facing off against Leeds United. Southampton ended up falling out of the automatic promotion places, which did suck for them because they had a lot of momentum throughout the course of the season. And then as the season, got closer to the end, they kind of like started losing games, started dropping points, and that wasn't great. So at Elland Road, first leg of the promotion playoffs, the semi-finals, of course, and Nanto has been the biggest pain in my side. I can't even believe how good this guy is. Honestly, he does deserve a move away from Leeds. Hopefully somewhere in Italy, maybe he can go to an AC Milan, but he was just incredible in the 4 games that we did play against Leeds in this season. But we managed to get a goal back, at least through the likes of Yokoslu, fantastic from a corner. And Nanto, yet again, driving it past our defense, who is too slow to react to him, fires it into the bottom corner. And again, Leeds United in this first game, their pressing, their relentless work off the ball was next to none. Like I was under a load of pressure. My midfield was not able to like withhold or withstand what they were doing. And in the second leg, it was a fairly different performance. I mean, we came out, we were more hungry. Of course, we wanted to get back in the game. And we do with a fantastic Josh Madger strike just from inside the attacking area. I think I even said like it was supposed to go to Jed Wallace, but it didn't. And unfortunately, that lead only lasted for 12 minutes. We were in the game for 12, or in the tie for 12 minutes before Ruta popped up with a massive header. And that killed all of our momentum. I was in absolute shock, disbelief. Trainer caught under the ball, massive header to send them through to the playoffs final and essentially send us back to the championship for our second season. So we will be doing that coming up fairly soon, of course, this weekend. But yeah, guys, obviously it was a massive disappointment. Don't get me wrong. I was very frustrated that, we're supposed to be progressing to the Premier League and now we're not. But it is what it is. It's what makes this career mode thing so much fun for me, to be honest. Having that failure and that success is going to make you enjoy those successful moments a bit more. So Millwall actually ended up making it into the Premier League. I'm still baffled by that. But I'm pretty sure that next season they will be going down or back into the Championship. So hopefully we can more or less exchange places with them and take that Premier League berth of our own. So we will be building a fantastic side this season. Of course, we do have a longer part of the season. We have a pre-season and everything that we will be getting through. Ultimately, we ended up finishing 4th, which is not always the best. But for this upcoming season, I've got some really good signings that I want to make, as well as I want to try and get that automatic promotion berth. So if you can, hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, and of course, I hope you have a fantastic damn day. I'm out.